Emma did not expect her past to be waiting beside a pile of green apples. Saturday morning at the Cedar Grove Farmers Market felt light and easy. Sky was clear, the air cool, and the smell of fresh bread drifted through the open square. She moved between stalls with a canvas bag over her shoulder, telling herself she liked this new life. Small town, quiet streets, a bookstore job she loved. No loud memories, no sharp arguments, just calm. She reached for a bag of Honeycrisp apples, turning one in her hand to check for bruises. Emma. The voice hit her before she could prepare. Soft, familiar, impossible. She slowly turned. Diane Carter stood a few feet away. Her ex-mother-in-law looked almost exactly the same, silver hair neatly pulled back. Soft blue cardigan, steady eyes that always seemed to see more than she said. For a moment, Emma forgot how to breathe. The market noise blurred into the background. It felt like someone had opened a door she had locked 2 years ago. Diane, Emma managed. There was no anger in Diane's face, no blame, just surprise. And something else, maybe relief. I can't believe it's you, Diane said gently. You look well. Emma forced a polite smile. I'm doing okay. You look great. They stood there awkwardly between apples and homemade jam, two women connected by a marriage that no longer existed. Emma had prepared herself for many things when she moved to Oregon. She had not prepared for this. How long have you been in Cedar Grove? Diane asked. Almost a year now, Emma replied. I work at the bookstore on Main Street. Diane's eyes brightened. That suits you. You always loved stories. The simple comment made Emma's chest tighten. Diane remembered small things she always had. For a second, Emma considered excusing herself. She could pretend she was late. She could walk away and protect the calm she had built. But her feet stayed in place. And you? Emma asked. Still in Seattle? Diane shook her head. No. I moved here last spring. Needed a slower pace. The world seemed to shrink around them. Emma had chosen Cedar Grove because it felt far enough from her old life, yet pieces of that life had quietly settled here too. They began walking without deciding to, drifting toward the coffee stand at the center of the market. The guitarist nearby played a soft country song. People laughed. A child ran past with a balloon. Everything looked normal, but Emma felt like she was walking across thin ice. How have you really been? Diane asked once they stepped out of the crowd. It was not a casual question. Emma hesitated. The honest answer was complicated. The divorce had not been loud or dramatic. No betrayal, no scandal. Just distance that grew wider each month. Ethan worked long hours as an architect. Emma waited at home, feeling smaller each day. They stopped, sharing small thoughts. They stopped laughing at the same jokes. Love didn't explode. It slowly faded. I've been learning, Emma said carefully. It's learning how to be on my own. Diane nodded as if she understood the weight behind the words. That takes courage. Emma swallowed. She hadn't expected kindness. She had expected awkward silence or quiet blame. But Diane had always been fair. There was a pause, and Emma felt it coming before Diane even spoke. Ethan moved here last month. The sentence landed like a stone dropped into still water. Emma blinked. Moved here? Yes, Diane said softly. He accepted a position at the architecture firm near the lake. Emma's mind raced. Cedar Grove was not a big town. There were only a few restaurants, one movie theater, and one main street everyone passed through. Running into him would not be a rare accident. It would be almost certain. I didn't know, Emma said. I thought you might not, Diane. Replied, I wasn't sure if I should say anything. But I didn't want you to be blindsided. Blindsided, that word felt too accurate. Emma looked down at her coffee cup. She had worked hard to build stability. She had painted her apartment walls warm yellow. She had made friends at the bookstore. She had learned to enjoy quiet evenings. Alone, now the ground felt unsteady again. How is he? she asked before she could stop herself. Diane studied her carefully, as if measuring how much truth Emma could handle. He's been through a lot, Diane said. The divorce wasn't easy for him. It wasn't easy for either of us, Emma replied, her voice calm but firm. I know, Diane said quickly. I didn't mean otherwise. There was no tension in Diane's tone, just honesty. He's changed, Diane continued. Slowed down, started seeing a counselor. He talks differently now, more open. Emma's heart gave an unwanted reaction. She had begged for openness during their marriage. She had asked for simple conversations, for shared plans, for evenings without work calls. At some point, she stopped asking. I'm not saying this to push you, Diane added. You both made the best decision you could at the time. Emma nodded. That was true. The divorce had not been dramatic. It had been quiet, sad, almost gentle. They signed papers in a downtown office in Seattle. No shouting. Just too tired. People admitting they could not reach each other anymore. Still, hearing that he had changed stirred something she thought was buried. I'm glad he's doing better, she said carefully. Diane gave a small smile. He always cared about you, Emma, even when he didn't know how to show it. That sentence cut deeper than any accusation. Emma remembered nights when Ethan would sit at the kitchen table staring at blueprints. She would stand in the doorway wanting to say something, not knowing what. They had loved each other once with such certainty. Road trips, inside jokes, shared dreams about a home with big windows and a dog in the yard. Where had it gone? The market noise swelled around them again, pulling Emma back to the present. I should get going, she said gently. Diane nodded. Of course. They stood awkwardly for a moment before Diane stepped forward and hugged her. It was not forced. It was warm and familiar, like family dinners and holiday lights. Take care of yourself, Diane whispered. You too, Emma replied. They separated, and Emma walked toward the parking lot. Her heart beat faster than it had in months. The simple morning she had planned was gone. In its place stood a question she wasn't ready to answer. Ethan was here, in the same town, living near the lake. She reached her car and placed the apples on the passenger seat. Her reflection in the window looked steady, but inside she felt shaken. She told herself it did not matter. They were divorced, two adults with separate lives. Running into each other would be awkward, but survivable. She had moved on. She'd rebuilt. Yet her mind betrayed her with memories. Ethan laughing in the kitchen. Ethan brushing flour off her cheek when they tried baking for the first time. Ethan holding her hand during long drives. Those memories did not feel bitter. They felt unfinished. She slid into the driver's seat but did not start the engine. Across the parking lot near the flower stall, a tall man stood very still. He had watched the entire conversation between Emma and Diane. He had not approached, he had not interrupted. He simply stood there, hands in his jacket pockets, eyes fixed on the woman he once called his wife. Emma did not notice him. She leaned, her head back against the seat, and closed her eyes, unaware that her past was not just a story being mentioned over coffee. It was standing only a few yards away. And in that quiet space between what was over and what might begin again, everything started to shift. Emma opened her car door, still trying to calm the rush in her chest, when she heard her name again. Emma. This time it was not soft or distant. It was close. Real. She turned. Ethan stood a few steps away. For a second, neither of them moved. The parking lot felt smaller, the air thinner. He looked almost the same, yet different in ways she could not quickly name. His hair was shorter, his posture straighter. There was no rush in him, no distracted look like he used to carry. When work filled his mind, I didn't mean to startle you, he said. You didn't, she replied, though her pulse said otherwise. He gave a small nod. I saw you talking to my mom. Course he had. Cedar Grove was too small for secrets. She told me you moved back, Emma said. I did. The silence between them held years of unfinished sentences. Why here? She asked. Ethan looked toward the lake in the distance before answering. 'Cause I needed to stop chasing things that didn't matter. That wasn't the answer she expected. She had prepared herself for something simple like work or convenience, not something personal. I thought bigger cities would solve everything, he continued. Better projects, more money, more recognition. But none of it fixed what I ignored. Emma crossed her arms, not in anger, but to steady herself. And what did you ignore? Q? He said quietly. Us. The words landed gently but firmly. 2 years ago, those words would have felt defensive or late. Now they sounded different. Honest, I didn't know how to balance things. He went on. I thought providing was enough. Didn't see how. Lonely you felt? I didn't see how distant I became. Emma felt her throat tighten. She had spent many nights during their marriage trying to explain that loneliness is not about being alone in a room. It is about being alone beside someone. I should have spoken louder, she said softly. I should have told you how much it hurt instead of shutting down. You tried, he replied. I just wasn't listening. The truth hung between them, not sharp, not dramatic, just real. Cars moved behind them. Someone laughed near the coffee cart. Life continued around them, but their world narrowed to a quiet space filled with shared history. I never hated you, Ethan said. Even at the end, I was just tired and confused. I know, Emma replied. I never hated you either. That was the strange part of their divorce. There had been no betrayal, no explosive fight. Just distance that grew until love felt too quiet to survive. I went to therapy, Ethan said suddenly. Emma blinked. That was new. I didn't. Want to repeat the same mistakes, he added. I had to understand why I shut down when things got hard. Why I avoided difficult talks. Emma studied his face carefully. He did not look defensive. He did not look like he was trying to impress her. He looked like someone who had done real work. I'm not the same man who signed those papers, he said. She believed him, but belief was not the same as trust. And what does that mean? She asked. It means I'm not here to rewrite the past, he answered. Can't. But I can own my part in it. The wind lifted a strand of her hair across her face. Instinctively, he reached out to brush it away. His hand paused midair. Then, slowly lowered, he respected the space between them. That small moment meant more than any speech. I didn't expect to see you today, Emma admitted. I didn't expect to see you either, he said with a faint smile. But when I did, I realized I still care. Her heart reacted before her mind could stop it. She had built careful walls. She had told herself she was done. Yet standing here, she felt something stir, something not loud but steady. I don't know what to do with that, she said honestly. You don't have to do anything, he replied. I'm not asking for promises. He took a breath, choosing his next words carefully. Losing you forced me to slow down. I thought success would make me feel complete. It didn't. I thought working harder would protect us. It didn't. I had to face the fact that I didn't know how to show up emotionally. Emma felt both seen and exposed. She had wanted this version of him years ago. She had wanted simple talks, shared plans, presence. You sound different, she said. I am different, he answered. Or at least I'm trying to be. A long pause followed. What if we hadn't divorced? She asked quietly. Ethan looked at her with surprising calm. Then we might have stayed the same. Sometimes losing something is what forces you to grow. The honesty in that statement surprised her. Emma glanced back toward the market. She saw Diane in the distance, pretending to study flowers while clearly watching them. It made the moment feel almost unreal, like life had carefully arranged this meeting. I moved here to start fresh, Emma said, to build something that was mine. And you did, Ethan replied. I'm not here to take that away. And why are you here? She asked gently. He hesitated only a second. Because when I saw you today, I realized I never stopped loving you. I just didn't know how to love you well. The words were simple. No grand drama. No pressure. Her heart felt like it was balancing on a thin line between caution and hope. Love isn't enough, she said softly. I know, he replied. That's why I'm not asking you to jump back into anything. I just want a chance to talk. To start as two people, not as husband and wife with expectations. That felt safer, slower. Start how? She asked. Coffee, he said. A conversation. No pressure, no history thrown at each other. It's just honesty. Emma looked at him carefully. She searched for the restless ambition that once pushed her aside. She searched for the impatience that used to cut conversations. Short, she didn't see it. Instead, she saw steadiness. What if it hurts again? She asked. It might, he admitted. But avoiding each other won't change what we shared. We were important to each other. That doesn't disappear. She could not argue with that. The past had shaped them both. The good years, the hard years. The quiet ending. A breeze passed between them, carrying the scent of fresh bread and lavender. It felt like a strange reminder that life keeps moving, whether hearts are ready or not. I've changed too, Emma said. I learned how to stand on my own. Learned that my feelings matter. I'm glad, Ethan said sincerely. You deserve that. The simplicity of his response eased something inside her. For 2 years, she had imagined running into him and feeling only anger or indifference. Instead, she felt something more complicated. Not blind hope. Not fear, just possibility. I don't want to rush, she said. We won't, he promised. Just coffee, she added. Just coffee, he repeated. A small smile passed. Between them wasn't the bright, carefree smile of their early days. It was quieter, more mature. They began walking back toward the market together, not touching, not distant either, just side by side. Emma felt the weight of the past behind, her and the uncertainty of the future ahead. But for the first time, the uncertainty didn't scare her. It felt open. As they approached the coffee stand, she noticed how Ethan waited for her to step forward first. He listened when she spoke. He did not rush the silence. Small things. But small things had always mattered. Maybe everything had spiraled out of control that morning. Maybe seeing Diane, hearing Ethan's voice, reopening old memories had shaken the calm she built. But as she stood there holding a warm cup of coffee beside the man she once loved, she realized something important. Spirals do not always pull you down. Sometimes they bring you back to the center. And this time, if they chose to try again, it would not be built on fantasy or youth. It would be built on truth, patience, and to people who finally understood what love requires. Emma took a slow breath. This was not the end of a story. It was the beginning of a different one.